Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Machi Koro is the first game I ever played that had this unique mechanism where you're building a city, but you're doing so by having cards out. And as you gain more cards, when you roll the dice, you're able to activate more of those, and cards will activate on other people's turns. This has since become almost a genre in of itself with like Space Base, Living Well is the Best Defense, and many others. But this was kind of the first one that I have ever played. I don't know if it was the first one ever released, and it kind of took the gaming world by storm. Now, I think it's been surpassed by other games, in particular Space Base, Living Well is the Best Defense, but this was the original one. There were a couple of expansions that came out, but I think the genre exploded before they could totally capitalize on this. I haven't played the Legacy version of this, nor will I probably. But as for Machi Koro itself, it's a simplistic city or town building game where everybody's kind of playing on all the turns. You're rolling dice to activate cards, and you're trying to get the best combination. So kind of like in Catan, where you can have the 12 that's not rolled as much, takes double sixes, right? But it's a more powerful card versus the 7 that probably comes up more often, but it's going to have less powerful abilities or ways to score in the game. And you kind of have that push and pull about what you want to do. Do you want to go for that big moment, or do you want to have that where you're just kind of chipping away at the game, or maybe a mixture of both? Those are going to be the main decisions that you're going to make in Machi Koro. It's a very light game. You can play with nearly anybody. The rules are very simplistic and shouldn't trip you up at all as while you're playing. The artwork and graphics in the game are very appealing, and I think most people will sit down and play this game and think it's very cute and a lot of fun, and that's why it's had the staying power that it has. It's going to be a purge for us. We have a couple other games in this genre that we like more, and I found myself pulling those off the shelf versus this one. That's not a comment on this game. This game is very, very good. It's just not the one we were pulling off the shelf, so purge for us. Here is Machi Koro from IDW Games. This is the original edition that I got back when it was first released. Open it up, you're going to get an advertisement that the expansion was forthcoming. Get a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. Then you sort of, kind of, not really get a usable insert here about what you can use. So the cards will go in here. You have some dice. Now the cards are pretty easy to see. They have a pretty nice finish to them. You can see the numbers on them, the coinage, and the powers on them. I kind of like the feel of these. They remind me of Munchkin cards. Then you can have any number of little cheap tokens here that you'll have in the game. These little coins, they work fine. Nothing to write home about. They're okay. But everything fits in here pretty nicely, and the dice are just common dice in a blue or a green. So, fairly nice components, but this is a pretty budget title that you can enjoy, and the components reflect that. Here is the rule book. You see a picture of the front of the box. Open up, you get a little bit of story here, and you have the picture of all the components, which is great. Then they jump in and explain the cards and a little bit of setup right here. And then setup will finish on this page, and you have the flow of the game. This is everything you need to know to learn the game. Right here, these 3 things are the cycles of the turn, and then they come into more detail, obviously, and explain them through of what you'll be doing during the game. Then the back of it is the credits. You probably need about 10-15 minutes to read through this. I found it to be a very clear rulebook. The game is pretty simple. There's plenty of pictures. There are some little examples in here with really small font that you can look through, but the game is a fairly gateway, entry-level game. You shouldn't have any problems with this whatsoever. So to set the game, you're going to have the dice set apart. Each player's going to get a wheat field and a bakery. Then they'll have the shopping mall, radio tower, amusement park, and train station on the construction side. This will be your player area. Each player is given 3 coins that will be their starting currency in the game. And then the remainder of the cards are put up here that you can purchase as you're playing the games. This will be your personal supply down here. You got your coins and your dice, and you're ready to go. At the beginning of a turn, you will roll the dice. At the beginning of the game, you're only going to have 1 dice to roll. Once you build the train station, you can roll 1 or 2 dice once you build this. But until you build the train station, you only have the 1 die that you roll on your turn, and that will be your roll. Whenever you do roll 2 dice, they are always summed together, so you can't break them up. So this would not be a 5 or 3. It would always be an 8. So let's say on the first roll I rolled a 3, then I could activate the bakery. Everybody would do this at the same time. Get 1 coin from the bank on your turn only. So this one I can only gain on my turn. Nobody else can activate their bakeries, and I would gain a coin. Most of the green ones are going to be coins on your turn. The blue ones are going to be get income on anybody's turn. Then you're going to have some red ones that will allow you to take coins from the person who rolled the dice. And then the purple ones will give you income from all the players, but during your turn only. That's how those are going to. Now, keep in mind that if you have multiple cards, let's say I had a cafe, also I rolled a 3, I could activate both of these cards on my turn. So it behooves you to try to get, do you want to get all of one type and get that big turn, or do you want to spread it out and you get a little bit no matter what is rolled? In addition, if you had multiples of the same thing, then you would just multiply the effect and you would get it for each of the cards. Now, if you owe people money and you don't have enough to pay them, you pay them what you can, and then the rest is forgotten about. So then at the end of your turn, what you can do is you can take your coins and you can buy additional buildings. You can buy 1 building and you can add it to your tableau. So I have $4. I could buy it for $3, which you can see the cost down here. I could buy a forest and add it to my tableau. If you have enough to purchase one of these, which could be 4, 16, 22, or 10, so I'll take my 3 back, and instead of buying the 4s, if I paid all 4 of my coins, I could go ahead and build the train station, which costs 4 coins. The first person to complete all 4 of their landmarks is the winner of the game. Who should buy this game? Anybody looking for a light city or town building game. If you like rolling dice and like activating things, there's a lot of simultaneous play where if you roll the dice on your turn, it could activate cards in other people's cities, so you're always kind of invested in what's going on. I contrast to something like Ancient Terrible Things, where like I'm doing things on my turn and you're doing nothing but watching me take my turn. In this one, everybody's kind of involved at all times. Now there's some other versions and expansions and other games in this genre. There's even a legacy version of this game, but this is not a bad place to start if you're new to the genre. Machi Koro is a very popular game, but one that we weren't pulling off the shelf. Purge for us.